This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and so many of you asked for it, so here it is. This is the HP Spectre x360 13-inch. This is the late 2017 edition with Intel 8th generation CPUs for 40% more speed compared to the previous generation. That's a lot. I know. If you just bought one a couple of months ago, you're going to feel like, oh, right now. Because this one really kicks booty. I tell you, it's a fast one. It's also quite light. It's under 3 pounds. It's about 2.89 pounds as ever. That hasn't changed very much. The design did get updated a little bit, though, and that's fine with us. The 15-inch really didn't change very much. But with this one, they actually made the footprint even smaller, because what they did with this 360-degree convertible is they moved the speakers up top instead of along the side. So it's quite narrow now, relatively speaking, making it even more portable. And that's something that's attractive, say, compared to the Lenovo Yoga 920. And yes, we'll have a smackdown with it, because the 920 is a 14-inch laptop. It is just going to be bigger. As ever, it's a 360-degree convertible. It has integrated graphics, your backlit keyboard, Thunderbolt 3, and it comes with a pen in the box. We're going to look at it now. HP knows how to make an experience feel premium. I have to say, you know, you pay a lot of money, you like to get doodads in the box. Hello, Apple. That would be nice if you did that. So you don't just get the nice laptop here, which, you know, of course you do. And the reason we don't usually show you what you get in the box with laptops is because you get a charger and that's it. So, of course, you get the pen, thank God, in the box. It's pen capable. The pen comes with it. I'll talk more about the pen in a bit. What HP does with the Spectres is you get a slipcase too. It's faux leather, but it's pretty nice. It's got a little noisy Velcro thing going on, but you get one of those too. Cool. And you get a compact 45-watt charger. Hey, that's nice. It's got the little flip-out prongs. You know, just a copy of the MacBook charger where this pulls off, and then you can, well, put on, guess what is included in the box, unlike Apple these days, the extension cord. So if you need longer reach, depending on where you're going to be using this, you've got that all in the box. I just want to take a minute to give them some kudos there, because not enough manufacturers at the high end are doing this. So the 15-inch Spectre x360 that I recently reviewed didn't change on the outside physically. They just updated the CPU and the GPU inside. The little Spectre gets a little bit of a redesign. I like what they're doing, literally an edgy kind of approach here instead of the rounded thing. Not that the rounded thing was bad, but I think enough people have copied it and they wanted to do something a little more exciting. Gives them room for some better ventilation, which is important because these Spectres tend to run kind of hot, and you know, nobody wants a super duper hot laptop. They've also, as I noted, done the speaker redesign thing, and the speakers still don't sound super awesome. I don't know, the Spectre line, despite this Bang & Olufsen thing, they sound a little thin and like they're straining at high volume, so no plus points for the speakers. They also added a fingerprint scanner on the side. It still has a Windows Hello camera, so I'm not sure why it has dual biometrics, except for HP also sells this in their Business Elite line under the Elite label, and their fingerprint scanners are more preferred, I think, and also probably a little bit more secure than the kind of facial scanning that Windows laptops use. This is not like iPhone 10 style 30,000 points of light shining on your face to identify you. We've got two Thunderbolt 3 ports on here. Both of these are 4-lane PCIe, so you got full 40 gigabit throughput on here. I'm still not sold on using itsy little Ultrabooks for gaming with an external graphics amplifier like the Razer Core. I know some of you are enthusiasts and do, but the fact that this has a quad-core CPU in it now makes it a little bit less of a CPU bottleneck if you are going to be using this for gaming. Now, this is a 15-watt Ultrabook quad-core CPU. That's the Intel 8th generation Kaby Lake R, so we're not talking, obviously, the big 45-watt CPU, well, yeah, CPU that you're going to be getting in something like an XPS 15, but still, it comes pretty close in performance. Granted, with some spiking of the turbo boost levels, it can't maintain a solid turbo boost. Nothing that we've seen so far does, except for the Surface Book 2 when it comes to that. But still, really good performance in here, a great all-arounder, powerful enough to be your main machine, which is pretty darn nice. The price is fairly reasonable. Now, we're hitting the holiday shopping season now, and right after HP introduces products, they generally start having some aggressive sales. So it's around $1,100 to $1,200 for this configuration, which is a Core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 gig PCIe NVMe SSD, which is the fast kind of SSD, and the 1920 by 1080 Full HD IPS display supporting pen and touch. You can get it with the 4K display. That's about $150 upcharge. You can get it with a Core i7. You can get it with up to 16 gigs of RAM. The RAM is soldered on this, so you can't upgrade it yourself. And with higher SSD capacities. Typically, I've seen them with 512 gig and sold in stores like Best Buy, who carries Spectres in the United States. It's a pretty good machine for that, and with some of the aggressive sales that are going on, you'll probably find it lower. At the low end, if you're talking about something like this or the Surface Pro, which is a pretty attractive machine, the pricing is not so different. But as you go up in the configurations, the Surface Pro gets very expensive quickly. If you want a 512 gig SSD, 16 gigs of RAM, or a Core i7, you can easily start getting up to $1,800, even $2,000. Where here you're talking about $1,499 or so, or maybe less. So this one is more cost effective. It also depends on what you want for a design. This does have a bigger display than the Surface Pro and a traditional style keyboard for those of you who can't stand the Surface Pro keyboard, which I actually like. There's also the Lenovo Yoga 920, you know, the one with the watch band hinge. Pretty. It's a 14-incher. It's also a very good machine. It depends on what footprint you want when it comes to that. And like I said, I know a lot of you have wanted a Smackdown, so I'll be doing it. But you get the idea, you know. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, the HP still. So, of course, this is a 360-degree convertible, and it's got nice beefy hinges here. As with all the Spectres, though, if you do this, you can make it fall eventually. The same is actually true of the Yoga 920. I mean, that takes a lot of bumping. Maybe you're on the world's worst bus ride from Grand Central Station to New Jersey or something like that to have to put up with that kind of shaking. It can happen. In normal use, it's fine, though. And if you're poking at the display, it's very rigid for that, you know, so it's only the shaking motion that gets it. So it's versatile. It's fairly light. You can use it as a tablet. You can use it in presentation mode, you know, all the usual things like that. Obviously, the big selling point here is for you note takers who want to use the pen, those of you who travel and want to be able to put something on the tray table and have it take up less space, and for artists too, because it uses an n-trig pen. That's the same technology that Surface Pros have been using, but we're up there with the higher pressure levels. Now, one thing to point out is I know there was some rumors about the new revised HP pen. This is the one in the box having a charging connector at the back and all these things. No, it doesn't. It has two little buttons. This actually looks a little cheaper than the last generation pen. I'm kind of disappointed. It's very light. It's a little too short for me for art. It's fine for note taking, but you got two little buttons here, and it uses the usual quadruple A battery inside. So that's all there is to it. No tilt support. The usual things. Yes, it has palm rejection for writing on the screen. I find n-trig a little less good at that compared to Wacom. It's okay for note taking. For art, I always wear an art glove, actually, with any of these. Pressure levels on this are pretty good, the curves on it. It's a pretty acceptable pen technology. n-trig has come a long way. It's about close to Wacom AES, in fact. The keyboard is, as ever, surprisingly excellent. It's a low travel keyboard, about 1.3 millimeters, which is about the same as the XPS 13, but with a nicer feel. You don't bottom out and feel like your finger joints are being punished. I can type wonderfully on this thing, and I do type a lot, so I appreciate that. And it has white backlighting, which isn't the most ingenious thing if you happen to get the silver model that we have here, because in certain lighting it can be hard to see the masking when the keyboard lighting comes on. You can turn it off, of course, to deal with that problem. This is also available in that dark ash silver, they call it, you know, the same color as the 15-inch Spectre that we just showed you here. Very pretty in that color, but shows fingerprints a lot more. And on their website, they offer a rose gold color, which is kind of a light pink. The trackpad on this is the usual large size HP trackpad. It's Synaptics. I have no complaints. It is excellent. I enjoy using it. I in no way wish it was a Microsoft Precision trackpad. The display on this now, the same thing goes with the last generation Spectre x360 13-inch and with the Lenovo Yoga 910 and now the 920. The 1080p display is quite a nice display, and you can see the metrics on screen. It ticks all the boxes for where it should be for a product in this price range. And it's great until you see it next to the 4K display, because the 4K display has even better color saturation. It's got more vibrance and pop to it. If you saw this 1080p display by itself, you would be enthused by it. But once you see the 4K, it kind of ruins you. But the drawback of that 4K display is that it's really going to eat into battery life. One thing I don't like about Spectre displays, 13 and 15-inch both, is the glass is very reflective. Great, it's Gorilla Glass NBT, so it's durable, but yeah, there's a lot of glare there. The x360 13-inch has a perfectly respectable 60 watt-hour battery there, but HP makes some wild claims about battery life. With the 1080p display, it's pretty darn good. I've been averaging about 8 hours on a charge with display set at 100 nits, and that's doing light to moderate productivity work and streaming video, not playing games or doing anything super difficult. But The 4K display is going to drop that by about 2 hours or so. So it's a trade-off. You're going to have to decide if it's worth it. The beauty of the 4K display and the added expense versus the longer battery life. Probably for a lot of people, the 1080p is going to be the sweet spot, which is plenty enough resolution for a 13-inch panel. So how about heat and noise? That's been the bane of the Spectre's existence because it's very thin and they use the kind of metal that really transfers heat through the bottom, so you feel it a lot. The CPU is not running any hotter than other laptops. You just feel it more. They have redesigned the cooling system a bit here. It has gotten better. With light to moderate use, it gets warm. It certainly does, but it doesn't get burning hot. But if you're pushing it hard, if you're doing something like ZBrush or you're exporting video, that sort of thing, it's going to get quite hot at the bottom still. And you can see the thermal on screen here to see what I'm talking about. It's not alarming, but you know, it's a decision you're going to have to make if you're cool with that. That's just how the Spectres roll. The fan will come on if it's working hard, certainly like any laptop, but generally speaking, if you're doing productivity work, everyday stuff, you're not going to hear it. If you're pushing it hard, you'll hear the fan. It's a whoosh, it's not a whine, it's not a roar, it's not that bad. So I have no complaints in that department. So we're in Adobe Photoshop now. By the way, the fan will not come on and it stays cool enough to use it in tablet mode that it's in right now in your lap if you want to do that for something like Photoshop. It's not that demanding. And the pen works really very nicely here. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm wearing my usual art glove. I wear this with every tablet because when you're doing art, you really don't want to worry about that occasional palm rejection failure. And n-trig isn't the top one on my list when it comes to palm rejection. It has more misses than say, most of the Wacom products that are out there right now, even Wacom AES. But it works. The pressure curves are quite nice. And let's switch to a normal pen so you can see what lines are like. So let's test the usual diagonal line jitter. This is not as good as Surface Book 2, for example, or Surface Pro. It's still got some jitter there. Now, just as we were filming this video, HP finally came out with tilt support driver. So I installed that and rebooted, and it still actually doesn't support tilt. This is not a tilt supporting brush, but if we go into something like the Windows sketching app, this one supports tilt if you're using that tool right there. So we have our normal line and let's do a tilt. No, it's not really tilting. That's the same as me holding the pen upright and doing that, see? So HP's working on getting tilt. That's a good thing. Now how about for note taking? Notice I've taken off my art glove so you don't have to worry that you need to wear a glove to do notes, and it's working fine. Worse yet, I'm left-handed, so I tend to do this and put my hand on the screen more than you right-handed people would. Perfectly fine for note-taking. So ultimately, this is a very excellent note-taking device, and it's a decent art device too. These days, n-trig, Wacom AES, they're all pretty good. Only Wacom EMR is like the bee's knees still for doing art, and this is perfectly fine for line art kind of work, comics, drawing, concept art, all of that sort of thing. It's pretty responsive here. Should you wish to open it up for upgrade and repair, HP still does that kind of, well, aesthetically pleasing but slightly annoying thing. Here's the back strip. You have to, whoops, stinky strip. You have to pull it off. It's not really very hard. Get a fingernail under there and gradually just pull it off. It's meant to be removable and you can put it back on. You should not have to buy a replacement strip. You don't have to remove the front strip, happily. There are Torx T5 screws, 2 of them that are exposed at all times over here, and the rest of these are Phillips heads that are hiding underneath. So let's take it off and take a look inside. And then once we undo the screws, it's not really latched on that tight. It's easier if you use a suction cup, though, because there's not much in the way of grab points, and the little prongs that locate it are a little tenacious in the front. So we take it off, and streamers and puppy dogs. No, it's just the guts of the laptop, sorry. So here's the battery, which takes up most of it, which is true of most Ultrabooks. Notice there's 2 fans. This is probably why the cooling has improved compared to some other very skinny Ultrabooks. Here is your M2 SSD, against PCIe NVMe. Ours is a Samsung PM961, which is top of the line right now. RAM is soldered on board, so there goes that. I can't see the Wi-Fi card. I assume it's on the underside of the motherboard. And we've got our speakers over here, and these are magnets actually to help it stay shut when you put it into tablet mode. So that's the HP Spectre x360 13-inch, the late 2017 model. And, you know, the bigger one has been Bob for me, the best of the best. And finally, the little one is managing to be a baby Bob, shall we say, too. Even though it doesn't have fancy things like the dedicated graphics and all that sort of thing, I don't expect that in a 13-inch model. But what it does have is a very classy and sturdy chassis. It's got Thunderbolt 3. You've got your choice between 2 really very nice displays. The pen, it works on it quite nicely. It's a great all-arounder, and the price is nice too. HP does a good job of giving us a premium product for a price that's not, say, as shocking as a Surface Book 2 that I just reviewed. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, including a smackdown with the Yoga 920, and thumbs up if you like this vid.